welcome to Business Talk, the top industrials forum. I am Chanaka De Silva. Today on our show we have Aruna Weerakoon, the chairman of the Seeds and Planting Materials Association, who will speak to us on hybrid seeds and their benefits and the issues. Welcome to the show, Aruna.
Thank you, Chanaka.
Aruna, I first like to know, can you tell me briefly what these hybrid seeds are?
Yes, good question. Basically, in a very sort of layman's language, it is the art of selecting good parents and crossing them to make a good child. Very basically, it is that, and that is called breeding. And you select the parents. Say, for instance, you select the fathers, and then you select the mothers, and keep them, sort them, identify the best out of their line, and then cross them together. Keep crossing until you come with a good child.
Right. So basically, it is selective breeding.
That's right. That's
yes.
Selective.
Now, and I have heard this in breeds of animals. Now, when this comes to seeds, how does this actually affect the crop or whatever you are going to plant? What is the real advantage you would see in this type of selectively bred seed?
So, in that selective breeding process, you are identifying the good qualities of both the parents, and then once you put them together, you get both those traits in one particular variety. So, it can be in terms of yield, it can be in terms of disease resistance, and now it is basically climate change. We are focusing on climate change also to withstand drought conditions. So many traits. It's a whole new world out there, and there are international companies who are really seriously involved in this whole process to keep the world fed.
Right, that is very good. Now, if we were to talk of this against, there is another word that comes which raises concerns about genetically modified.
Yes.
Are these both the same?
No, definitely not.
If you could clarify.
Yeah, in the normal breeding process, it is you are not altering the genes. You are making use of the inherent genetic qualities and just crossing them and putting them together. You don't alter the genes.
Right. So, which means these are only the best selected from their own strains.
That's right.
So, this is not what is called genetically modified, because there is a lot of concern about what genes come, and some time ago they were trying to ban genetically modified even food here.
Yes.
And there are in certain countries a lot of concerns about GM food, yes, it's well known. So, now here in a area wise, if you could tell me in our districts, what sort of seeds are used for our plantations? What are the fastest moving vegetables, for instance?
Well, if you really think about the seeds that are being used by most of the farmers today, I could say nearly 80% are cultivated from imported seeds and mostly hybrids. So, if you take the upcountry, you don't get many hybrids there because of course it's all imported seed, but if you take cabbage and now carrot, radishes, those are all highly advanced hybrid seeds. At the same time, you get the normal open pollinated seed also, but basically all are imported, which is concentrated in the upcountry like Norelia, Bandaravilla, and the tomatoes are almost all hybrid seeds. And then when you come to Kandy and then down below to Dambul, Anuradhapura, that kind of area, and also the south, when in Sinhalese we call Mahiboga, like Karavila and Lufa and all that is now basically converting to hybrid seeds. Even the Bandaka, okra, farmers are now clamoring for hybrid seed because of the high yield and the disease resistance, because there is a very common virus in Sri Lanka, yellow vein mosaic virus, which our local varieties does not have any resistance now. But these imported varieties are definitely, because they are breeding for that particular disease, to resist that disease, which is, wipes out entire cultivations. So, the hybrid seeds are catching on even in very popular vegetable like okra.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy you spoke about the viruses and disease resistance. Now, let's talk about chilies. Chilies is something I think this country has a huge fascination,
Definitely.
right? Everyone likes to have chilies in sort of everything except tea. Uh, Now, can you tell me about the chili cultivation and these seeds?
Yeah, it brings back memories. About 18 years ago, I was the first to import a hybrid chili seed. That was what actually opened the door for hybrid seeds to come in, because it was all curtailed before due to various regulations. And there, when I first introduced the hybrid chili, at that time the local green chili yield, fresh chili, was around 3,500 kilos per acre. In the first season, my farmers in Puttalam area, they recorded a total yield of over 15,000 kilos per acre. So you could see the jump.
Yeah.
And then from there onwards, it has been so. So now the green chili market is decided by that district, Puttalam.
Right.
Because when they cultivate, they do acres and acres of chili, specifically green chili. And then after that, they decide the price. So when they are not in the market, the other prices come in, then the prices go up. You would have seen price, even with the hybrid seed, prices go up to about 1,000 rupees a kilo. So you can imagine if the hybrid seeds aren't there, we would be consuming green chilies at around 5,000 rupees a kilo. That's the truth.
So, in fact, the high yields of this actually help to stabilize the.
Definitely, definitely.
And from what you say, would it be right if I were to say that this reduces the use of insecticides and pesticides and to a
Yes,
degree?
to a degree. One thing is these plants are very big, so even for the insects, it's very attractive, right? So diseases are many in the field. The consumers don't know about it, but the farmers and us, whom we are closely in contact with, the farmers, we know the amount of pressure the farmer has to go through to earn a livelihood, right? So certain amount of application of chemicals, whether it's a hybrid seed or normal seed, you have to apply. Organic is a whole new ball game, and very few people can really afford to do that and even consume. So you now the trend is minimize the use of insecticide, and now what we have is very much more less toxic chemicals that the farmers have, which they could use.
Use.
And also there is something called Good Agricultural Practices, a program that is being sort of promoted by the Department of Agriculture, which will eventually, teach the farmer to go easy on the insecticides, and like the Wasabi story also will go out of the window. It was misleading and it was harming the farmer, that kind of talk.
I think you should, for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, elaborate more on this Wasavisa rheum, I would say, that was spread, which did so much damage.
Yes, it did, and it really harmed the farmer, because it's a scare story basically. There would have been little instances of farmers maybe misusing or overusing, but that was not the norm, right? Because farmers are very responsible, because they have to keep growing to live. And why should they kill their own consumer? Yeah, they won't do that. It was some people who really, I don't want to go into names, who thought that this could be, utilized as a some kind. Media also picks up such stories, and thankfully now it has died down, and people would have realized that you need to eat, and we have to consume vegetables to stay healthy. And we don't use chemicals to that degree. I think the people in the sector who are really involved in the sector, the agriculturists, the business people like us, input suppliers, and the department officials, the hierarchy, they all know that this was just a story. And now, thankfully, it is dying down, and the farmers would be able to make some kind of good living again.
Right. Now, you spoke of the high end of the vegetables, which is actually becoming a tourist attraction. You
Yes.
see, like the green and the eco and all that. What sort of plants are used for that? I mean, the vegetable, is it the hybrid seeds, the local seeds, or what?
Well, it has to be hybrids because it has to be high performing and the keeping quality. These are things that the new market trends they want. Even if you take a supermarket, they will look for keeping quality, shelf life.
Yes.
Otherwise, if it just goes bad in 1 or 2 days, it's a waste for the middleman, the supermarket, and even the consumer. So these are all involved in good breeding, where we are looking at transportability, shelf life, so many things, the taste and all that. So all this comes in, and finally, when you select a variety, we try to assure ourselves as well as the farmer and the final buyer that their demands are met. And for the tourist sector, the quality parameters are very much higher. So some of the seeds that I have brought just to show signifies that the amount of work that has gone into it, and for a particular market and for their needs. Now, for instance, take salad tomato. So that's an item that the hotels really need. Lettuce, that is another item or items that the hotels need. Watermelon, so many. And the seed sector, I'm happy to say, we are responding to that need slowly. Of course, there are a lot of barricades, barriers, and so many things that we have to overcome. But we are getting there. And as long as we are allowed to do our work unhindered, and we should be able to meet the growing demand of high quality vegetables in the market into the future as well.
When you say barriers, now this is an agricultural country. We all depend on a lot of vegetables. I mean, our food, tourism industry, as you know, is going to demand more and more because they advertise every type of restaurant is here now. You call it
Yes.
Japanese, you call it Italian, you call it anything. They have it and they all need vegetables. So, what would you specify as the barriers you all face or others in your industry?
Well, it's a market which is not an easy entry market even for a newcomer, because there are so many regulations and testing processes, so much involved in, and even for a company now, my company is 30 years now in this seed business, and we have kept a clean track record. But even for a company like mine, we have to go through a process of nearly 1.5 years to bring a good variety out. So that is something that I have been even personally sort of trying to push the authorities to relax that, because we can't keep pace with the demand if we are going to sort of pull ourselves back for 1.5 years to introduce good varieties, because the seed market keeps evolving very fast.
Right.
And consumer demand is also very finicky, it keeps changing. So we have to go with the times, but when you go through all these red tape, we won't be able to fulfill that demand in a hurry.
Yeah. Another thing of concern is now certain levels like aflatoxins, right, which come in with imported like
Of course,
chilies.
yes.
It's very dangerous.
Yes.
Now, what is the level of that invading, say, the seeds that you all bring and we grow here because these funguses are in the air, and the effect to the people?
Well, imported now, specifically some of the produce that comes from India and Pakistan, we know for a fact the chemicals that they use there is very much more toxic than what we are using here. So aflatoxin is something very much there in the imported dry chili, which we import now nearly 12 billion rupees worth of dry chili every year. So I've been trying personally, as well as some of my members in the association, to try and get at least 10 to 20% of this amount of money back into the village economy. But we alone, we cannot do such a project. So the government has to get involved. It has to be a program, nationwide program. And if we can get 10% Chanaka, that's a lot of money in the village economy, and we have the same varieties that the Indian farmer is growing and sending to us. We have the same varieties in Sri Lanka.
Right. We are going for a small break now. We'll be back with you soon. Welcome back. Varuna, the subject we were discussing is aflatoxin, especially in our chilies. Because I believe on some previous research I did for another media, we have a lot of sicknesses like cirrhosis coming in, people are getting that, cancer, all those things. I don't know how much research by the medical fraternity here has been done relating it to that. But I know for a fact that Europe, the standard of aflatoxin allowed is 5 parts per billion. And here, I think it's something like 30 parts per billion, which has not changed in about 25 years, unless they change the levels in the last 2 years. I don't know what has happened. What do you think our people should do about these standards?
I think they should review the standards, but at the present moment, we are so import dependent on our dried chili requirement. And you know very well, ours is a country, we eat so much of chili, whether it's fresh or dried, flakes, you name it, we eat it. So if we are too dependent on the imported varieties in form of dried chili, if you put too many restrictions, probably we will not be able to get the chili that we need to feed the people. So this is something the government has to look into with the medical fraternity and everybody concerned. Maybe some people will have to turn a blind eye, I should say, until such time we make our own dry chili according to the standards that we need to have. So this is something a little beyond my scope. People, I think you have made some study on it, and
Yes.
you should pursue it, because in the end the health of the nation is involved.
True. No, what I would actually expect from you to know is whether these seeds can contribute to one producing the amount of chilies we need,
Of
and
course.
we can create, as you said, the quantity of chilies we need.
Of course, we can. And even now, there are varieties of chili where it is specifically for drying. So when you say specifically for drying, that means the entire harvest can be taken out in just 2 or 3 plucks. So that means a variety has been bred for the pods to come out almost at the same time.
Right.
And it's basically it turns red very quickly, and then you just harvest it and dry it. And in the drying technology only, you have to take care about the aflatoxins and
Yes.
various other issues. And this is an industry by itself, so it can be done. But as I said before, it has to be a national level program, like what we did for the corn, maize. It was a national program, very successful, and now it has, different other ideas have crept in. But same level of dedication, if it goes into the dried chili production, as we have the varieties here, it can be certainly done, and you will get a much better quality chili for consumption.
So actually, it would be a very positive thing for the government to turn its attention on that.
Definitely, it is.
But if it is such a huge market, like you said, 12 billion rupees of chilies have come in, why does the private sector not get into it a little more aggressively and do it?
Well, there are so many stakeholders in this game. Now, if you take the processors of spices, it is a known fact that it is so much easier for people to import container loads than going from farmer to farmer and collecting it. So this is a mental process, and Sri Lankans lack that kind of commitment, and I'm very sorry to say. So it is preferably it is easier for them to open a LC and bring by the container loads than going from farmer to farmer trying to find chili. So if it is a national level program, then of course people will be driven to support the local farming sector, and then maybe immediately they may not reap the same results as buying from overseas.
Yes.
But in the long term, it will help the farmer,
get
the
something
economy,
going.
and even their security as far as the input for their industry is concerned will develop. That is the way other countries develop. So we have to think out of the box And as far as we, the input suppliers are concerned, we have done our best because we have brought the varieties. And if you take the fertilizer people, the good people, they have brought good fertilizers, modern fertilizers, where we have all what is needed. All what we need is to encourage these farmers, band them together. There should be a market for them, grow for the market. That kind of process have to come in. So if that does come in, a lot of things can change in this country. And money going into the village economy, that's where
Yes, that
life
will
is.
create, that will help a lot of problems to ease off.
Definitely.
We won't have a labor migration, we won't have
Yes.
urbanization at this rate because there will be money in the village. And
Yes.
if you have money where you live, you're not going to go anywhere else.
Yes.
This one thing now about speaking of the seeds you bring in, how many varieties are roughly a ballpark figure actually are imported into the country, hybrid seeds?
Well, almost all other than the wing bean, which is damala,
Yes.
even patola is now we have in hybrid form. Of course, the use of it is in varying degree depending on the adaptation of the farmer
Yes.
slowly in almost every crop.
So that would be roughly how many types would you say? We are growing hybrid seeds.
Well, in almost every crop, all
Yeah,
the
like
vegetables.
give me a number.
Then I had to keep
100,
count.
200, 300
No,
types?
all the vegetables that we consume. I did not count.
Yeah.
We have so many. Even if you look at it here, that you take loof, karavila, vatakolu, vandaka, patola, even good sinhalese.
Yeah.
The normal village level stuff, that also farmer is now cucumbers, the white cucumber.
Yes.
All that is hybrid because the farmer needs the yield.
Yes.
And just to emphasize, once I introduced a white cucumber variety where the farmer could get his first harvest in just 35 days. And the farmer within about a total of 2.5 to 3 months, he takes about 20,000 kilos per acre of white cucumber. So that's the yield potential. So only thing is the market has to be there to pick this up. Logistics have to come in to take it to distribute area. Now, for instance, the pumpkin, that there's a big story about pumpkin. Every year this happens, and this is because of good seed. That is not oversupply of seed, but this is the amount of pumpkin that the farmers have the potential to grow. So where the market has to pick it up, and processing industries have to come in. If you take Thailand, they even collect the seed and sell it, give it as with your drink in the airplane.
Yeah.
So that's the level of thinking other countries go into. But for us, that processing industry is still in a very infancy stage.
Oh, it's not born yet.
Not born, I should say.
Yes. Now one thing I was worried about. Now, someone recently told me that when you said pumpkins, there was a local variety. They call the Singalavatak, which is a very huge, which is actually, I don't know, they can't find it now. What will happen to the endemic varieties here when the farmers go for this? What is the situation of that? What will be?
We could call it, even in other countries, they say heirloom varieties.
Right.
So there is a particular market for that. There will be the old farmers who try to keep that seed. And of course, it's a responsibility of the Department of Agriculture to save such
Protect those
seed.
seeds.
And even today, even with all the hybrid pumpkin in the market, if you really like to taste the real pumpkin, even for me, I would go for a old variety. But then, how much of that pumpkin can be produced? It is not enough to feed the people. Right? So, for a person who is willing to pay that extra amount, so now in the market, if the imported variety is selling for say 20 rupees a kilo, the local variety may be about 50 rupees a kilo. But the yield is about 3,000 kilos of that particular variety, whereas the imported variety, even if he is getting at 20 rupees, it's 12,000 kilos. So work out the arithmetic, and you can't force a farmer to do something which he really doesn't want to do.
Yes.
So he knows what he wants now, And today the farmer goes and asks for a variety by the name of the variety. He won't go anymore and ask for mata vatta ekak denna.
Right.
So the selection he has already done. So this is an advancement in the sector.
So now they are very type specific,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
Yes. So now, yeah, I like what you said, that it, the local varieties should be looked after by, there must be some authority that
As a
keeps
seedman,
this.
I should say that.
Yes, because this, I think some of these types of vegetables are even endemic.
Yes.
And yeah, if I can go a little further to say, we are eating more foreign vegetables now than the local varieties that may have.
Yes, yes.
Because all what even chili is imported, no, chili is
Yeah,
not native.
yeah.
This so what can you say from this point onwards? Where can we take this to the higher level? At what points? What level?
Now, if you look at the real status quo of the seed sector, from the figures that we know, we spend about 15 million US dollars on the import of seed material. That is seed potato, maize seed, as well as all the vegetables. So all this amount of money is very small compared to all the whatever the figures that are bandied around on other sectors. This feeds the nation. So you can imagine the value addition.
Yes.
With $15 million, how much of produce is being made locally?
Local, yes.
If this seed was not there today, we would be importing our vegetables. And I am happy to say we don't import vegetables, fresh vegetables, at least not yet, because we can supply that amount of vegetables, and with more encouragement, because this sector mostly we earn brickbats, because mostly people don't know the amount of work that goes into feeding the people. So into the future, land is going to get less,
Yes.
population is going to grow more. So what are we going to do? We have to increase our productivity. So only way forward is with good seed in agriculture. I am specifically
yes.
on good seed, good technology. That's the way to feed the people. Now there is no point in talking about 50 years ago we were eating this and we were eating that. But then the population would have been that much less.
Less.
Today it's growing at a faster
Very
pace.
fast pace.
And to feed this amount of people, it's a lot of work. Sri Lanka can be a garden to the world. Because you know very well, we have never gone out of season for fresh vegetables. Even if a tomato, we never really eat from a can. Yes. In many other countries, they have to, right? So the crop keeps shifting from area to area. Right. So we always have vegetables. Cucumber will be grown in Anuradhapura, then a few months later it will be in the south. Like so, we have cucumber, right? So what we need is the market. In the market, in the sense how we distribute this into the areas which may not have that particular crop at that given moment. So going forward, seed sector will play its role as it has been doing over the years, and with less bureaucracy, right, we can really improve and fulfill the market requirements.
Thank you, Aruna. That was a very enlightening statement that you made. We have never eaten vegetables out of a can. I think that's something to be valued and cherished. May we never eat vegetables out of a can in this country. Thank you. That was Mr. Aruna Weerakoon. We will have another valued guest in our next show soon.